I have worked at the small convenience store on the edge of our quiet suburb for many years. My name is Frank, and I have spent many long nights behind the counter with nothing more than the hum of the freezer and the soft tick of the clock for company. I never thought that one bitterly cold winter night would turn my world upside down. I remember that night clearly, though I still wake up in cold sweats when I think about it. That evening, I closed the front door and turned the key in the lock. The wind was harsh, and the frost on the windows glimmered under the weak streetlights. I set the radio to a low volume and went about my nightly routine. The night was quiet, too quiet for my liking. I noticed a few odd things at first. A strange knock at the door that quickly stopped, a soft scrape behind the shelves, and the feeling that I was not alone. I shrugged it off, blaming the old building and my tired mind. About an hour into my shift, while I was restocking some items, I heard the sound of hurried footsteps echoing outside. My heart pounded as I stepped to the window and peered out. In the darkness, I saw a shadow moving quickly. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I tried to convince myself that it was just a passerby caught in the cold night. That is when I heard the sound of shattering glass. In a flash, a masked man burst through the front window, sending shards of glass flying in every direction. I froze in shock. The man wore a dark mask, and his eyes darted around as if he was searching for something. His hands shook visibly as he clutched a small pistol. "Hand over the cash, now," he shouted, his voice rough and desperate. I was paralyzed by fear, but I managed to raise my trembling hands. I had been working alone so many nights that the sudden intrusion felt unreal. The masked man's tone was not simply that of a common thief. It was laced with anger and a personal edge I could not ignore. I slowly reached for the cash register, my heart beating faster with every passing second. The robber's eyes flitted from the money to me, and in that moment, I sensed that he was not just after cash. He spoke of things I had never expected to hear. "I know your secret, old man," he snarled, his voice quivering with barely concealed fury. My mind raced, wondering how he could know about the mistake I made years ago, a small error that had haunted me ever since. I had kept that secret buried, never telling anyone, but now it had been dragged into the cold light of night. As I fumbled with the cash register, I tried to keep my voice calm and steady. "Please, I don't want any trouble," I said, though I knew it was too late. The robber's face, hidden behind the mask, twisted in anger when I mentioned a misplaced receipt. I had accidentally left it on the counter that day, something so small that I thought it was unimportant. But it seemed that the man saw it as a sign, a betrayal that confirmed his vendetta against me. His eyes widened, and he barked. "You thought you could hide your past, but you are nothing but a liar." My heart pounded louder as I realized that his anger was not just about the cash. Every word he spoke carried a heavy accusation that made me feel more exposed and vulnerable. In the confined space of the store, time seemed to slow down. The only sounds were our heavy breathing, the soft whir of the refrigerator, and the frantic tapping of his shoes on the tiled floor. I could see his fingers twitching as if he was fighting an inner battle between controlled menace and an unhinged breakdown. The minutes dragged on, each one feeling like an eternity. I wished for the night to end, for this horror to vanish, but nothing changed. The robber's grip on the pistol tightened, and his eyes darted around the room as if expecting reinforcements. I tried to speak softly, hoping to calm him down, but his anger only grew. Then, in the distance, I heard the sound of sirens approaching. The sound was both a relief and a new source of fear. The masked man hissed a command for me to stay silent as he collected the cash in a trembling hurry. When the police finally burst into the store, the scene was chaotic. Shattered glass lay on the floor, cash was scattered across the counter, and a heavy, unsettling silence filled the air. The man was gone, and I was left standing in a mess of my own fear. The officers looked at me with a mix of sympathy and confusion, and one of them whispered, "This isn't over." I still shudder at that night, knowing my secret remains my curse.